Right folks, so welcome back to another video. We're continuing with the 130i today. As you can see, it's definitely looking a bit sorry for itself. I bought this thing from auction in the last video, totally sight unseen. To me, it looks like it's been more than just damaged. I think it's been vandalized as well. But yeah, we'll give it a full inspection today and create like a shopping list essentially of what we need to get it up to like an acceptable standard, let's say. We'll have a good look at the underside, the engine bay, the suspension components, and see if we can find anything odd about the car. I'm sure there's going to be something. But one thing I like to do before I ever go into all that detail is I like to give the car a full scan. So let's head inside now and get that done. Right, to scan the car, I'm going to be using this device from Carly. Incidentally, they are the sponsors for today's video, so big shout out to them. All you gotta do is plug into the OBD port and then load up the app. Little lights come on, get the ignition on. So it's just connected to the car. It's found the device. It does work on a variety of different brands, so it's not just BMW. You will have seen the last time I used it on the GTI, so there's no problem there. As you can see down here, you can do a health check, used car check, coding, and various other features. We'll begin with the health check first because I want to see what error codes we've got. Then I'll show you the rest of the app. Right folks, the scan's done. It's telling me the health status is very bad and we've got 37 issues found. I'm presuming a bunch of these codes are going to be from the dead battery, but we'll go through them anyway. It's telling me to react immediately. The first one saying coil outlet valve dump shorted rear left. No idea what that is. Voltage related, steering angle sensor. Apart from the steering angle sensor one, I can't really make much of that. There are a lot of voltage ones, Right, I don't think I'm worried with any of them. Okay, so the first code under engine is telling me throttle 1, fuel preparation system. Last occurred at 264,000 kilometers. 5 related issues. Okay, throttle 2, catalyst conversion, all weird codes really. We'll try and get a better idea of what all of this means when we move on to the engine bay, but I just want to show you the rest of the app because I appreciate a lot of you guys don't have all of these issues and you might just want the Carly device for some of these cool features. So you got customization, you can do a bunch of coding here. So each car has its own different feature sets. This obviously has less than the Mark 7 because it is an older car, but under CAS you've got items like, for example, unlock the car when it's turned off. That's currently set to on, let's put that to off. And within a few seconds it's coded. Now obviously this car isn't in the most drivable state, so I can't really show you some of these features in action. But we'll move on to the used car check. Right, so 3 different data points with the VIN and 2 with the mileage. Let's go on to mileage. And it's saying nothing is saved higher than what's indicated on the dashboard. Interesting because the MOT history on this car is a bit strange, but that's likely because of an error rather than some actual clocking back going on. Either way, it doesn't really matter. This car is bit of a shed at this point. So my suspicions are correct. I've seen my fair share of dead battery fault codes. I just turned the car back on now after clearing everything. There's only 2 now, so yeah, all those engine ones have gone. Seems to rev pretty smoothly. But yeah, big shout out to Carly again for sponsoring today's video. As I said, I've used it a fair few times on a variety of cars and it always comes in handy. They've also given me my own special link, which is down below in the description. It'll save you 15% off your next order. But yeah, let's move on to the next part of the video. Right, so somehow I managed to drive this thing to the unit. We're going to get it up on the lift. Just had to replace 2 of the jacking points because they were missing. So at least now it'll actually go on the ramp safely. As you can see, our rear window still missing, but we're not going to focus too much on the body panels because you saw that in the last video. We'll get it lifted up in a bit so you can see the underside. I haven't had a look at it at all, so it's all going to be new to me, but we'll begin with the engine bay first. Right folks, so what you're looking at is an N52 engine. It's the main kind of reason why you'd buy an 130i. This is a pre-LCI version, so it has hydraulic power steering. I think what we'll do, I can already spot a bunch of oil mess down here. I'll get the light shining down there in a second. We'll remove all this cowling and go from there. Okay, that should be an 8mm. That's not an 8. Let's see how clean this cabin filter is. I'm assuming it's going to be full of muck and, well, it's got leaves to start with. Yep, very dirty. Right, so this is the first main issue with it, folks. This whole scuttle panel doesn't even have any screws in it. This normally pulls off, but we've got a zip tie as well. Yep. That freed itself way too easily. Next, we've got the engine cover. There's already 3 bolts missing for that as well. What a guess. T45. See what nightmare's hidden under here. Pretty cool. There has a magnesium rocker cover as opposed to the plastic one on my 335i. I do believe some versions of the N52 switched over to a plastic one as well. The main thing I want to identify is why there was so much smoke coming from down here. I'll be honest, I pretty much had an idea it's likely going to be the rocker cover gasket. It kind of makes sense because there's quite a bit of sludge down there and also around the oil cap as well, so that might need changing. Just looks to me like someone wanted a 3-litre 1 Series but not the repair bills that go with it. Yeah, now that I look at it more, you can see puddles of oil in each of these crevices. But luckily there's no cooler issues, or I'll try to avoid them by not breaking any of these lines. You guys will know what I mean by that. But yeah, let's get these plugs out and have a look. Now, usually with these coil packs, I normally just lift this handle up here and stick like an extension through there and pull them up. Works quite easy, but we've got a nice little extra bodge here on the first coil pack. It's got a zip tie on it because the top clip broke. So yeah, someone didn't really want to spend any money on this car, it looks like, and vandalized it at the same time. I've got spare coil packs at home, so we'll change that later on. But we'll just pull out the second one instead. Surprisingly quite dry. There's no oil on that at all. Doesn't seem to be any oil in that spark plug tube as well, so dry again. Number 4 is pretty dry as well and very hot. Coil number 6, that was a bit more violent than I wanted, but again it's dry. And if I show you on my phone here, you can see, look, no oil on there, no oil in there, and no oil in there. So I'm assuming majority of this oil and these little puddles here is from a leaking oil cap. It's probably worth changing that out, because if you look at this wiring here, it's all drenched, and that's all a bit drenched as well, so it just makes sense. It's still going to be worth doing the rocker cover gasket because there's so much gunk down there. But if you look here, we've got a bolt missing as well. So at this point I was going to pull out the spark plugs and show you the condition of them, but unfortunately I've just realized the spark plug socket for an N54 doesn't work on an N52. I've got a 14mm thin walled socket which worked fine on my 335i, but apparently I need a 16mm one for this, which I don't have on me right now, so we're gonna have to leave it as that. But as you've seen, there's no oil in the spark plug tubes, so hopefully it's all okay. I'll still change them in the next video likely anyway and give you a good look then. So we got the oil filter here. The housing does leak on the N54, and I've been told it leaks on these N52s as well. Can't really see any oil residue on the front of the engine. Probably is going to be something that I need to change anyway, just for peace of mind. But nothing down there. All seems just like an old dusty 1 Series, to be honest. We've also got a bit of tape down here, which I didn't notice until now, so pretty handy with the tape on this whole car. Got it there on the mirror. Is that water? That's water, isn't it? Oh my days, man. It's like a waterfall. It's all held in this side of the truck. Okay, so now that the car's relieved itself on the floor, we'll have a look at the first shock here. Passenger side front. Boots already fell down, but not surprised there. Pretty typical stuff. The discs are pretty good. I mean, when you're driving it, it's not too bad. Seems like aftermarket label on that shock over there. Monroe, I think. Yeah. Well, Monroe make the OEM shocks for my GTI, so I don't think there's any issue there. This dust shield still is intact. There's definitely quite a bit of a rattle when you're driving this, so I'm assuming this side's a lot worse. We'll have a look now. Obviously, this is where it all gets pretty exciting because we've got a nicely dented wing. Strange style choice, but it is what it is. Bit of rust on the edge there, to be expected. Boots fell down. So the disc is decent as well, but that isn't. So this is what's the cause of all the rattling when you're driving. The brakes at the rear definitely look like they haven't been changed in a while. Fair bit of a lip on there. Pads look very crusty as well, so they're going to need a change. But the caliper wasn't sticking when I leave this parked up, so that's a good sign. Tyres have got a bit of life in them. For now anyway. Right, so we're underneath the 130i now, finally. So we can have a good look at, well, I'm sure you've already noticed there's a lot of brown going on. Now these rear subframes are known to get quite crusty, but you can always drop a subframe and redo it. That's not a hard thing. This diff is looking quite sweaty as well. Yeah, looks like it's not fully been dipped in the sea, but probably has at one point in his life, just for a little quick break. The rear arms don't look too crusty. Most of it is the subframe with the pry bar out. That's all surface for now. Wouldn't be surprised if that starts going through in the coming years. Still hard though. Now through here, just on the side of the fuel tank, quite a bit of, well, you already had me say rust about 3 times already, I'm sure, or maybe more. This brackets, again, very crusty. Exhaust looks, you know, as it should be. Doesn't look like it's overly bad or corroded or broken apart. Brake lines look all right as well. They look like they're in decent condition. Those bits there aren't too corroded. Obviously the brackets are, but nothing else. Just ironic because I was underneath the M140i yesterday looking at the Powerflex inserts on the subframe, and here we are, polar opposites, but they still both got 3 litres, so there's some common ground. Now moving over to the front of the car, you can see it's still trying to relieve itself on the floor. There's still that big puddle of water there. We have got what looks like oil there on the under tray. I am going to leave this on for now because I don't want to get pelted with loads of random stones and oil and all sorts. We have no idea what could be under there. It is already loose. These bolts gave us a bit of a nightmare on the N54, but I don't fancy changing the exhaust on this thing anytime soon. Sounds pretty good for a stock car anyway. It's not really any problem there. That all looks as you would expect. Accidentally just stepped in the way of that water there, so I gave myself a 130i shower. Don't fancy getting one again. But as you can see here, the subframe is identical to the United 2 on the front. I think this massive under tray that they put on these cars just helps a lot with preventing rust. Back there, it's all exposed. So yeah, it doesn't really do the car any favors. That seems like it's still a circle as well, which is a good sign. You can actually see the hole up there where this dust shield is supposed to be screwed into, but seems to be having a great time just hanging about, making loads of noise. This anti-roll bar's in decent nick as well. It's hard to really make much of this car. It seems like half of it's good. Well, apart from the oil leak on this half. Right, I think that's a decent first look at the underside. What we'll do, we'll head back home now and make a little game plan of what we should do next with this car. Right, so the 130i made it back in one piece, in rush hour traffic as well. It was last night, but yeah, we've got the car's best side on display there. I'm sitting in the GTI because it's nice and comfortable. But in terms of my overall thoughts, it's kind of what I expected, but maybe a bit more crusty at the rear end than I would have liked. But then again, rear subframes are a known issue on these 1 Series and 3 Series. My E92 is nowhere near as bad as that. The car actually drives really good because I couldn't really push it on the way there because the bonnet wasn't shut in properly. So I had to kind of crawl there at like 20 miles an hour to the unit. But on the way back, we managed to get it shut, as you can see. And yeah, the car flies. Everything from the gearbox maintenance to the steering to just the way that it delivers its power. Very nice thing, that N52 engine. In terms of what we're going to do next, I think we need to get a few body panels for it. Get like the general service items, get a rocker cover gasket, and then basically get it running and looking like a nice 130i before going into some crazy kind of project. I don't want to get carried away in this weather because you never know. It might just start snowing for the next few months. That's probably an exaggeration. It hasn't happened like that in many years. But again, I don't want to make any promises just yet. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for a lot more content to come. And I'll see you in a few days' time for the next video.